All right, we are going to call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Mr. Pollard, would you lead us in the pledge? Look for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That will take us to recognitions. We will start with the Elementary All-Star Children's Choir.
Hello. Okay, sorry. Good afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead and invite Matthews Elementary, the music teacher Olivia Riley, up to speak about their student who was selected for the All-State Children's Choir.
Hi, I'm Olivia. My student Remley Rohr is a fifth grader at Matthews. She was a new student in third grade, and I remember her as this really shy, sweet little girl, and then she sang for the talent show, and oh my gosh, a new person emerged, and we were like, where have you been hiding this voice? Who is this kid? And she came out of her shell. She sings every year in the talent show now. She auditioned for All-State Choir. She made it, no surprise there. She takes voice lessons from me now. She's just really found her place in the music program, and I'm so excited to see where she goes. So we're very proud of her.
Now we will have Chrissy McElson, from Prairie Branch Elementary, speak about Prairie Branch students.
And let's go ahead and have the students come forward that are with your group.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Could I get Pierce Powell, Gwen Baker? I don't see Claire Tracy. And I don't think I see. Oh, there she is. There's Gabby. Wonderful. We were fortunate enough, we had 4 students make it into the honor choir this year. This is Pierce, Gabby, and Gwen. Pierce and Gabby and Gwen are all in 5th grade, and they auditioned for the choir this year. They've all had bigger parts in programs in the past, and they've sang some amazing solos. Pierce was the sun last year, literally the sun. And Claire is a 4th grader, and she will be able to audition again next year if she would like to try and make it 2 years in a row. And I just love working with these guys. They're amazing. They work super duper hard, and they were all in our honor choir at school too. So
Very good. Congratulations, students. If you turn around and take your applause from your crowd here. Congratulations.
Now I'll invite Becky Bayless and Stony Point Elementary's All-State Children's Choir members to come up.
Hi, I'm Becky Bayless, and this is Aiden Brown, and I've had Aiden Brown as a music student since he was in kindergarten, so just a little baby musician, and he has grown so much since the time that he was in kindergarten. He's grown every single year. He was in honor choir this year, and then last year he also auditioned to be in the Music Educators All-State Children's Choir. He didn't make it last year because he had some nerves happening, and this year he came back absolutely determined and persevered. I'm so proud of him. He's done such a great job, and now he's going to be representing us for the entire Missouri All-State Children's Choir. You did so good.
thank you.
Let's go. Hey, Aiden. Let's go get our picture.
Next, I'll invite Andrew Messerly up to discuss the Music for All Bands of America Honor Band.
Yeah, Aiden, if you want to come on up. This is Aiden Stevens. Aiden is a clarinet player in our program, and this year he had the opportunity to march in the Tournament of Roses Parade with the Music for All Bands of America National Honor Band with students from around the country. He received a few days of instruction from some of the finest band directors in the country, and then had the rain-soaked experience of marching 5+ miles down Colorado Boulevard. But we're really, really proud of him and proud that he was able to represent Grain Valley so well all the way out in California. So congratulations.
Andrew Messerly and Shane Batchelor will now talk about the Missouri All-State Band members and orchestra.
Hello again. All-staters, if you want to come on up here. Much like the elementary students you saw who are going to be singing in the All-State Children's Choir, these 3 students will be performing in the high school All-State Band and Orchestra. We had 3 members make it this year. On the left there is Dylan Marquis. This is his first year making the All-State Ensemble. He'll be playing trombone. In the middle is Caden Byers. He's playing percussion in the All-State Orchestra this year. This is his 2nd year in All-State Ensemble. And directly to my left is Julia Bloodsoe. This is her 3rd year making an All-State Ensemble on French horn. It's a really major accomplishment to make All-State at any point in your career. To make it multiple years is amazing, and Julia is a junior. She's made it all 3 years of high school. So we're very, very proud of all 3 of these students. We know they're going to have a fantastic experience working with some of the finest conductors and clinicians with musicians from all around the state of Missouri. So congratulations.
And finally, I'll invite Julie Lever up to speak about the Seal of Biliteracy Award at the Grain Valley High School.
Come on. So while they're joining us, I just want to tell you, so the World Language Department at the high school has been looking for their identity and how to recognize greatness for a little while. You know, we have advanced placement. It's really hard. There's dual credit, and it's either too easy or too hard. And so I think we've finally found what we want. And so the Seal of Biliteracy means that our students are proficient in 2 languages. They have to take a test in English, obviously, the MAP testing or EOCs, and then they have to do reading, writing, speaking, and listening in a 2nd language. It's accessible to everyone, and I think that's what we like the most, is that you get a great stamp on your diploma, and it can go with you anywhere, to college, to trade school, to wherever that you would like to go. And so that's why we like it so much. So I would like to recognize our students that are here, and even those that are not. I'm Callan Ambrose, Anthony Andrade, Mackenzie Lee, Ruby Ruelas, Jimena Valentin Vasquez, and Gianluca Centeno. Centeno, sorry, I'm saying it wrong. I'm trying to do Spanish things. But these are our folks that have earned it, either these 2 as sophomores, and she's an early grad and didn't even get all the practice in, and she earned it too. So, congratulations.
Okay. We want to thank all of our recognition recipients tonight and their families as well. Thank you for coming out and supporting the students. At this time, we'll take a little pause for any of the families that don't want to remain for the rest of the board meeting. You're welcome to go ahead and exit. But you're welcome to stay, because we really like it when there's people here.
And congratulations, families.
Yeah, congratulations and thanks for coming out. All right, at this time, it'll take us to patron comments. Any school district patron may present information to the board at this time. Presentations will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. The board will not take action on any issue not included on the published agenda. However, all comments will be taken into consideration by the Board of Education. Patrons are requested not to discuss individual faculty, staff, or students. Patrons are reminded that this is a public forum and comments relative to individuals could result in litigation. However, any patron may request to meet with the board in executive session. No response will be given by the board at this time. We do have one patron signed up, Steph Callis.
I'll give you a second to. Yeah, I can see without my glasses. I printed it big enough. Good evening. My name is Steph Callis. I first want to say thank you for your time, your service, and the responsibility you hold for the district. I come today as a former 15-year employee of the district, a grandmother of students in the district, and a concerned citizen of Green Valley. I want to start with a student you don't know, but one you've absolutely met before. A student whose future depends on numbers. This student plans to be the first person in their family to go to college. They work hard, they persist, and over time, their learning becomes consistent. In our current SBG system, grading system, early scores still count in the final grade. So even after a student demonstrates consistent proficiency, the final grade can fall short of reflecting that learning, with real consequences for scholarships and GPA opportunities. No one made a mistake, no policy was violated, everyone is acting in good faith. And yet, a system designed to communicate learning can quietly become a barrier to opportunity. This is not a story about any one teacher, classroom, or school. It is a composite example of how system design can shape outcomes in ways we may not intend. I want to be clear, I support standards-based grading as a philosophy. When implemented consistently and with fidelity, it can be one of the most equitable grading systems available. My concern is not the philosophy itself. It's what happens when the definitions of proficiency and gradebook calculations are not fully aligned across the district. When that happens, students can experience very different versions of proficient. The questions I'm bringing tonight are meant to encourage reflection and curiosity, not defensiveness. They are governance level questions any board overseeing SBG should feel empowered to ask. I understand that you're not allowed to respond tonight. I'm simply asking you to listen with a curious mind. Question 1, how clearly defined and shared is our district-wide philosophy for standards-based grading, and how do we know it is being applied as intended? To what extent does our current system ensure consistent definitions of proficiency for students across all classrooms and buildings? Number 3, how well does our grade calculation method in PowerSchool align with the goals of standard-based grading in communicating student learning over time? And number 4, what systems are in place to support training and calibration of new staff so students experience equity regardless of assignment? Tonight I want to walk you through a short demonstration designed to help us reflect together on one central question. Are our students' grades measuring their learning, or are they being shaped by variation in interpretation and the mathematical constraints of the system? You have a one-page example in front of you. It's meant to support reflection and can be referenced later. I'm not going to read it, I'm going to walk you through it. This example is intentionally simple, multiple choice only. That way, interpretation, not assignment design, is the variable. The standard, I can identify the main parts of a plant and their basic functions. The assessment has 4 multiple choice questions. Now here's the key. The sample student gets 3 correct and misses 1. This is where the system level issue becomes visible. One teacher may say, you showed proficiency well and overall. and records a trend score of a 3 or an A. Another may say, proficiency requires perfect, and records a trend score of a 2 or a C. And if the student is absent, is not able to make the test up, the trend score may be recorded as a 0, which communicates no evidence, which is effectively an F, even if prior evidence exists of knowledge. And I want to pause here and emphasize this. All interpretations can exist in good faith. This is not about intent. It is about clarity and calibration within a system. Same standard, same student, same performance, different outcomes. The difference is not teaching, it is not effort, it's not learning. It's the system interpretation. Now that we've seen how proficiency can be interpreted in different ways, I want to show you how a single early trend score, whether fully valid or influenced by interpretation, affects a student's outcome across an entire semester. Let's assume a student receives a 2 early in the learning process. That score may accurately reflect where they are at the time, or it may reflect how proficiency was interpreted. Either way, it becomes part of the permanent calculation. Then, over the remainder of the semester, the student consistently demonstrates proficiency and earns 8 3s. From an SBG perspective, this pattern shows clear proficiency by the end of the learning cycle. But when these scores are averaged, the early score remains mathematically visible and can prevent the final grade from ever reaching a 3 in PowerSchool, simply due to the laws of averaging.
Ms. Callis?
I'm over time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If you want to wrap up final remarks real quick.
Yes. Let me figure out where I want to make my final part. Sorry, I apologize. The students that may be affected the most are often those that don't have the language, knowledge, or support to question their grade or advocate for recalibration. I do not, again, expect any kind of response to me personally. I'm simply asking you to be curious about how our system determines student learning and to pursue answers with clarity, consistency, and fairness for every student. Most of all, I hope that if you found any of this confusing as a board member, please consider how it must feel for a student. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks.
All right. That will take us to reports. The first item on the agenda will be the approval of the 2026 bond issue ballot measure. We'll make the motion, then we'll have some discussion on this item. I'd make a motion, or I'd look for a motion for a resolution calling for a special school bond election to be held on April 7th, 2026.
So moved?
Second.
All right. We'll have some discussion on this item.
Thank you. And if it pleases the board, I'd like to invite Nicole Young with Hollis and Miller Architects to come forward. And before the board has seen the ballot language over multiple meetings, thought you might be interested in seeing conceptually kind of the direction that we're headed with some of the bigger parts of what we want to do with this spring ballot measure. Nicole, thank you for joining us. Yes.
Okay, Dr. Gucci didn't give me a stool this time. All right, so the first one that I handed out that's the stapled packet of 3 is Matthews Elementary. So on both of these things we're going to share tonight, we've done some preliminary discussions with the admin team as well as some other district personnel. Keep in mind, this bond issue is a little bit different in that a lot of times we're doing the full design prior to the bond issue and then bidding it kind of as soon as the bond passes. Given how things were, this bond issue is different because a lot of times in the past we've been concentrating on one singular project. As an example, our last one was Phase 6 at the high school. So it's one project, everybody's focused on it. This one potentially, as you know, has several projects to it. And so the idea of trying to take the district through all those at once is a lot. The admin team would be probably overwhelmed with all the meetings I'd be requesting and all the things to be talking about. So we're spreading this out a little bit, but these two projects are our first two that we've started looking at for that. The schedule also is being dictated a bit by the bidding schedule and just what's available when we can bid. We don't really want to bid things necessarily in April because for that summer work, because it's just too late and a lot of people are already filled up and you don't get the best prices. So a lot of this work will be starting in the fall, and then a lot of the renovation work happening next summer. So that's just kind of an explanation that's a little bit different on the bond issue of why we are where we are this time versus some others. So the first piece, Matthews, we have done a programming exercise with the admin team as well as admin team from Matthews. Wanted to get kind of an idea of where their needs are, what the expectations are as we look forward to this project. Knowing that as most projects are, there's usually a lot more needs than we are able to capture at one time. And so looking at this project, I'd say the point of discovery that we've again done some preliminary programming, and we are at a point where we'll call it kind of a proof of concept, that we know that we have a project that will serve this district well, the school well, really come out with what we're referring to as a reimagined Matthews for the price that we've kind of allocated the budget for this bond issue piece. So we still have we're getting ready to actually kick into the full design process. We'll be starting schematic design here shortly and going through that full exercise with the team. So that's just a little background of where we are on the project. I just want to make sure everyone understands this is very preliminary. So nothing at this point is set in stone. But you can see the opportunity with this site plan, given that the district has purchased the land to the west and both to the east of Matthews Elementary. It gives a little bit of elbow room for that site, which, as you all know, is very tight. So it's great to have those opportunities. So you can see the existing building in gray kind of there in the middle and what was the existing land. And then the white to the left is what we're proposing as a potential addition. And this addition could include a new entry to the school, which we'll see here on the next page of kind of how that can be imagined. It would also include a new gymnasium that would be comparable to the size of the other elementaries in the district with the same type of amenities such as seating, that kind of thing. That would also be a storm shelter. The city of Grand Valley is now under the code that requires that for elementary when we're adding capacity to schools. So that is a requirement that we will be fulfilling with the gymnasium on this project. And then as part of that too, obviously there's an existing gym there that we would be renovating or vacating as a gym. So we have the opportunity to turn that into a cafeteria, get a new kitchen, some things that the school is really in need of and will appreciate those uses. So big picture on the site plan, you can see on the west, new entry. So as you're approaching from Grand Valley, where everybody's coming from, you'll see this new entry opportunity for car riders to come in. We'll have several opportunities for more curb cuts, obviously, along McQuarrie as this comes in, so we can get a longer car loop in there, get the drop off, and then separate completely buses, so you can see the path for buses coming over to the new east property that the district now owns, to get that bus loop kind of as long as we can there, so that we have the opportunity also to separate those cars and buses, and the buses are no longer gonna have to make some tight turns and do some different things. Same with the cars, but much better flow for that piece. And then the green area that you see is just opportunity. Again, we haven't developed anything, but there's a lot of opportunity there for development of more green space, playground space, whatever we come out of that as a need as we go through the design process. So that's kind of the overall view of it. The first page is what we are looking at as a potential of the project that goes with this bond issue coming up in April. You can see the dark black outline around is what is the existing building now. That's the footprint of Matthews as it exists today. So you can see off to the west or to the left there what would be the new entry office area. gym, and then being able to repurpose the existing gym into a cafeteria with some kitchen renovation within there, as well as a kitchen addition and dock and service, building services. And then the existing cafeteria, taking part of that for a new music room, nice high volume in that space so we can take advantage of that renovation. It's got high windows in it, so there'll be some nice daylight coming in. And then also just an opportunity to kind of blow through that a little bit with the new entry so that we have a nice new entry and lobby as you come into the school, centered on what would be a newly renovated media center in a new location with that. The other big priority that's been discussed are the special services needs, and you can see in green that is what that is representing. So we've also been through a programming exercise with the special services department, kind of understanding what all those needs specifically are, and this is starting to reflect that. Again, preliminary, but as a first piece of it, that's where we're headed to make sure that those services are well accommodated in this renovation. So this project would include obviously new addition as well as some interior renovations. It's not going to touch the entire school. Just don't have the resources for that, but getting to a good spot of getting the school a lot of items that are currently maybe lacking or not maybe have the parity with the other elementaries. So, and then you can see off to the right there the rendering. Again, very preliminary. We've done some initial kind of conversations with the school, so this isn't necessarily set in stone, but it's just an idea of what that could be, kind of this reimagined Matthews as you come up on McQuarrie coming in from town, what that could look like. So pretty exciting there with that piece. And then the last page is looking at it from a master plan standpoint that would get this school to a full 4-section school, plus an additional 3 classrooms kind of as a bubble or growth moment for that. This reflects that, so you can see everything that we would do in this first phase for the most part would be there. There's opportunities to then add some more spaces with potential kind of wings of classrooms, looking more at collaboration space and being able to open that up with those additions. The land to the east really affords that opportunity to happen. And you can also notice that the lower level in the master plan is vacated for purposes of Matthews. The preference really is to keep the school at one level if possible, just to keep everybody together and all the functions happening. So that could be turned over for different functions that the district may have as the time, needs are when this project might happen. So that's kind of the big picture. Again, very preliminary, but we worked through it, talked through the needs, the priorities, and feel like we definitely have a viable project for the bond issue for Matthews.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on the possibilities for the Matthews project?
This looks great. I know you said it didn't cover every square foot, but maybe just keep in mind a couple restrooms in the basement portion of the existing Matthews, I think, just.
Yes, we have talked about that as being, to try to look at that as we get into the design yes. Even if it's used for a different service later, it's still going to need restrooms if it's separated. So yeah, we have talked about that.
This
Yeah, you
looks
bet.
great, though.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. Anybody else? All right.
Okay. And then the other one that I handed out, if we want to go ahead and talk about that, is the middle school athletic complex that would be happening out east of North Middle School. So again, very preliminary. We had a programming meeting with the powers that be across the district that are involved in this. Even the district admin is kind of seeing this initially for the first time, how it's landing on the paper. So, but it gives an idea of the concept that we've talked about and the major needs being a turf field, which would accommodate football, soccer, flag football, anything, all the things are accommodated on the turf. And then we have an 8-lane track shown with all the throwing events. Kind of, you can see them off to the right there, which most of those events really are just grassy areas that they take. There's a little bit of infrastructure, but a lot of it's just grassy area. So the dual kind of advantage of that is that there would now be that flat green area for use by the school or community or whatever that might be, as well as then to the south of where you see the field. Again, a purchase of the property from the district allows us the opportunity to get another drive in from Pink Hill, which would be great not only for this complex, but North Middle School itself. So that is shown. The idea of this, you guys are probably familiar with that land out there. It's very hilly, kind of rolls off down the hill as it goes to the east. So the idea would be that the field and track would be down quite a bit, probably about 25 feet down actually from where the building is now. So when the Pink Hill access would be down at that field level. So we'd have a turnaround down there for buses, drop off, that kind of thing, as well as emergency vehicles during events. And then that drive would kind of go up the hill. Public, for the most part, we're providing, right now, we've got about 70 additional parking spots shown from what's there now. So the parking would be up top. That's where the public would come. Up top at that level would also be concession restroom building and then a small press box. And then to kind of make up that grade between the top of the hill and the bottom of the hill, the idea of tiered seating, kind of big terraces. Obviously, we don't need huge bleachers built in here. So looking at ways to kind of work with what we've got, but also give a really cool experience for seating and that kind of thing, and still being economical as we do it, and kind of understanding what the needs are for this facility in particular. The other building that's shown there is a little storage building at the end of the track for all the track equipment and all the needs there, so. Any questions on that one?
Nicole, I just wanted to ask so that you can explain for all of us. Obviously, we're excited to be able to provide this facility behind North Middle School, but there's a lot of other acres there for future potential, including, a possible elementary school on site at some point. So I know this is preliminary, but I just want to hear you say it doesn't prohibit us from adding an elementary school. Maybe 20 years from now, the community needs a second high school. It doesn't preclude us from using the rest of the land as needed.
Correct, yes. This is all part of a very big picture master plan that we've done, looking at another elementary school, the high school. The high school we have positioned much more to the north. So having this additional access and opportunities for even more access with that purchase of that property is great off of Pink Hill. So if and when you need that, kind of some opportunities to make sure everybody's not funneling through the same. And then, yes, an elementary school even further to the east of where that track and field is now could be nestled over there into that spot. So yeah, still plenty of acreage out there to do all that you need to do. And this sets up kind of just the infrastructure even of another opportunity to come in and do those things. So.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, so we're getting ready to vote on 40 million. That's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money.
Right.
How realistic is it that we would get both of these projects done for that price tag?
We've been monitoring the budgets very closely on these. We are definitely looking at this project, these two projects, along with the vestibule security upgrades, and same thing at the early childhood, kind of looking at that entry as well as an addition to one of the other elementaries potentially. So looking at all those, we've done preliminary pricings with your partner, your CM partner of Newkirk, Novak, and it seems like everything's coming together. I mean, we don't have like way more money than we need by any means. It's going to be, going through the process and kind of making sure we're understanding the priorities of each of them. But I think we'll be able to nestle all those projects into that 40 million. Yep.
All right, any other questions? All right,
Okay.
Nicole,
All right. Thank you.
thank you for
Thank you, Nicole.
presenting.
Yeah.
All right. Prior to voting, any other comments or questions? All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor for a resolution calling for the special school bond election to be held on April 7th, 2026. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And next item will be the special education program evaluation.
Thank you. We are pleased to have Director of Special Services, Dr. Corey Schonk, who will lead the presentation for program evaluation, and we have other members of her team playing a supporting role tonight. So, Dr. Shank?
Hello, good evening. As Dr. Willie said, I'm Dr. Corey Shank, and I'm the Director of Special Services. I brought some important people from my team tonight. First, Melissa Aragon. She is our Assistant Director of Special Services. Dr. Jessica Carroll. She is our Early Childhood Principal. And Matt Reed is our new Behavior Specialist this school year. All of these three people do an exceptional job for our district and help run the special education department, and so I just wanted you to be able to meet them. I want to direct you to our program eval, where I have a few items to highlight. The first one is just near and dear to my heart. It's our life skills program. We have been able to add lots of more opportunities for our life skills program in the last 2 years, and one of those things is we've been able to add adapted electives at our middle school and our high schools to give our life skills program more opportunities for electives. We've also hosted Special Olympic events and increased our high school outing opportunities in the last 2 years. We hosted a new event this year called Bingo with Buddies and invited other area schools in. And we also won Job Olympics for the past 2 years. So those things are just awesome and fun and just bring joy to everybody in the room. The next one is our behavior data. It has improved in the past 2 years, and there's a lot of people in this room to thank for that work. Dr. Carrie Reich and the team that I brought and the building administration, we've worked really hard with our multi-tiered system of supports and behavior, and it is impacting our kids in a positive way. From every level, from pre-K to high school, we've increased supports for our students. From pre-K to 8th grade, we've become more systematic in all levels of tiered instruction. We have decreased the number of students that we send out of the district from numbers in the teens for many, many years to 7 this school year, which is huge. We also have drastically decreased our physical intervention reports. We went from 206 last school year to only 52 this first semester. So we're on track for around that 100 mark, which I feel like is huge progress and obviously headed in the right direction where we want to be. As you know from every board report, our 504 numbers continue to increase, but our team has also increased in a positive way. We have created a system that works really well for our staff and our team, and we are able to manage a higher number of 504s with the supports that we are doing, which helps our families. Lastly, we have started something in early childhood that is different, out-of-the-box thinking, and is making an exceptional impact. We started co-teaching in social skills and literacy, which is giving our early childhood students opportunities to be with more students in general, but then also just different types of disabilities, different types of students, creating opportunities for more empathy, improved social skills, and we've also increased our letter knowledge with our literacy. So we are very proud of the success that we've had in the last 2 years. We are looking forward to continuing to improve, and so I'll bring your eyes to the end of my report where it talks about the goals that we have for the next 2 years. The first one is very timely for tonight, but increasing space in special education programs at early childhood and elementary schools. We've talked a lot about just needing more space for our students, and we appreciate your approval of wanting to do that too. Also just increasing rigor in student engagement with reading and writing with our co-teaching and resource classrooms and life skills instruction in our life skills classrooms. We're always aiming for higher achievement for our students. The next one is on our special education profile. You may have noticed that our specific learning disability area is quite a bit higher than the state, and so one thing we want to look at is why is that? And so we're going to explore some factors that could contribute to that. For our 504 team, like I said before, we have created certain systems, and then you have also approved additional staff for us in the last 2 years that has really helped us. And we think that we are at the point where by next year that we could be able to do the work that we're doing without the help of our counseling staff. So about 5 years ago, we had to ask counselors for help because we just didn't have the manpower to do all of the work. And we feel like we're getting close to being able to have them not be a part of the paperwork part, but just part of the meetings and supporting the students part. And then lastly, recruiting and retaining quality staff members is always high on our list. Melissa Aragon has done a ton of work with our new staff, and we have also just worked together to create just how can we help our new teachers, how can we make teaching the place, or Green Valley, the place that they want to be and stay for their career. So we're just looking for more ways to do that. So what questions do you have for me?
Very good, thank you. I can say firsthand that you guys do phenomenal with the kiddos. It's great to see, and
Thank you.
yeah, the work you guys put in is great. So, any questions from the board?
Yeah. I want to say how much I appreciate what you guys do. I have a son who benefits from what you guys provide, and so I've seen firsthand over the years all at the different levels, grade school, junior high, and now high school, and so I appreciate all that you do. I know that there is going to be continued, as you put here, there's a rise in need.
Right.
And so we want to be able to meet that need, and there's going to be challenge with that. It's not going to be easy. I know that there's been a lot on your plate, and there's been a lot that you guys have had to do, because it seems like things have escalated quickly. But we appreciate your efforts, your hard work, and of course we want to be able to support how we can with that. So
Thank you. That's
I don't
very.
have any questions for you, but I just wanted to say I definitely appreciate all that you guys do.
Thank you.
I'm just curious about the graph on page 4 and what that's telling me and why. So there's been it looks like a pretty significant reduction
Why do you?
in the
you're
physical
asking-
interventions.
So
And
you're
you've done
wondering
done
why-
training, and is that, or you think is that what's driving this, or what's driving the?
I feel like
drastic
there's
reduction?
multiple factors. I feel like any of the trauma training that we've done over the years has impacted this for sure. I feel like MTSS, multi-tiered systems of supports and behavior, has had the greatest impact. Over the last 3 to 5 years, we have worked really hard, and like I said, Dr. Carrie Reich has worked with this team. We've worked really hard to go through every single tier and make sure we're providing good Tier 1 instruction and good Tier 2 instruction and good Tier 3 instruction, and it's just improved a lot in the last 2 years, even more so. We've just been able to do things more with fidelity, and that's what I think is, because I think we're able to teach the skills that the kids need, so then they know what they can do when they feel overwhelmed, escalated, frustrated. They have strategies to use.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the team here? Nope. Right.
Well, I just want to say thank you for supporting us. I know that we tend to ask for a lot, but you guys are very supportive, and we promise we use whatever you give us wisely.
Thank you. No, you guys have a lot of need out there, so you guys do well with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that will take us to the superintendent's report. Dr. Willie?
Thank you. Draw your attention to our tracking that we're doing on our cover page. The 3 bar graphs that are shaded in blue, it represent our revenues to date, our expenses, and our health premium supplemental payments. All 3 of these categories are tracking as expected for the school year, so we're on track there. We can be reassured that we're looking good there. We do introduce a new tracking this month, and that is a new way to look at student lunch debt. This fall, the board reviewed a very much revised plan for how we're dealing with student lunch debt. And so this time we are tracking where we stood in September a year ago in yellow versus September at the start of the current school year in green. And then we have January a year ago at this time in yellow and where we stand right now in green. And then the July is representative of the student lunch debt, not just at the end of the school year, but that also takes into account the end of our summer school session and the end of our budget year. So that's why we've chosen to represent these three graphs. And you can see that although we are tracking ahead of where we were overall in debt for last year, we are slowing a little bit in our growth in January than what we were September over September. And we, as Dr. Gooch illustrates in his portion of the report for nutrition services, we also have a handful of families who have the highest level of debt accumulated that we're ready to bring the next level of support their way, along with kind of a timeline that if, really encouraging them to engage with us to come up with a plan that works for everybody involved, but we are at the point where we may begin to start to see families referred to collections agencies. But we want to make sure that none of that comes as a surprise to anybody that's involved, because we still believe that engaging with our families directly is always the most effective way. But ultimately, we do have to try whatever we can to not only support our students, but also just being just the finances of the school district. So wanted to represent this to you in a new way and give you a chance to react to it. Before I go on, any questions on any of the data graphs that we're sharing tonight? Two other things that I wanted to highlight before we open up the rest of the report for questions. We are moving forward with a CSIP strategic planning process. We will have a survey that we'll put out to all of our families later this month. That'll go out to our students, our staff, members of the community. So we'll be promoting that yet this month. And then in February, we're looking for 3 evenings that we can have representatives from the community come in. And we're anywhere from 35 to 60 people, and we want people who can commit to all 3 nights. Tentatively, we're looking at Tuesdays in February 10th, 17th, and the 24th. Ideally, we would start at 4:30 in the afternoon and go until 7:30. And we'll provide dinner those nights. We'll have our facilitator come in. Dr. Allen and I will both be present and engaged in that. And we would also, we'd be very interested to have up to 3 board members, if it works out for your schedules, who can commit the time to come and be actively engaged at the tables with our teachers and parents and students. And we just think that would add a lot coming back to the board level discussion. And again, I know it's a big commitment and the timing, has to work. But if anyone, please check your calendars if anybody is interested. I'd like to hear from you right away. And then the 2026 state legislative session is now underway. The governor gave his State of the State address this week, a little earlier in the schedule than typical. But the budget's going to be, budget and taxes is going to be probably the focus. There are over 2,000 bills filed already for this year, and that sets a new record. That beats last year's record of bills that are filed. So, but we're looking at some of the same issues that we're going to keep an eye on are similar. The state budget is expected to be the central focus. The fiscal year, budget year that we are on right now, the consensus revenue estimate reflects essentially flat growth. Education funding is expected to be affected by these constraints, with discussions likely centered on sustaining the current funding levels moving forward for at the state level, for state funding of schools, rather than ways to find new revenue. So there just is not, there's not energy right now at the state level for how to generate additional revenue for schools moving forward. Tax policy is also expected to be a big focus in this session with the bills and the discussions and debates that happen. The governor has been clear that his objective is to eliminate the state income tax, phased out possibly over a 5-year time period, move Missouri towards a more consumption-based tax structure. So that would certainly have a huge impact, and it would dramatically shift how revenue is generated to support public education and other state services. And so we're definitely going to want to watch and listen for that. At the same time, there is continued focus on property tax relief, and that also carries direct implications for public schools. And we get roughly half of our funding from the state level, a lot of that from income taxes, and roughly the other half comes from our local property tax base. And legislation on reeling in both of those is being proposed and is something we're going to want to keep an eye on. Because any proposals to limit or constrain growth intersect with the efforts that are currently underway to also rewrite or redo the state schools funding formula. And again, the governor has set as his goal for that no new revenues, no new spending, basically to maintain the current level of spending moving forward. So this is, I try not to have a negative tone when I share those words. They're just the facts that those are the bills that have been proposed. I'm not aware of bills that propose new funding to help us improve our teacher pay ranks in the U.S. But I also don't want to be the voice of doom and gloom on this either. There are 2,000 bills that are introduced. They are not all going to make it. And so we'll just report back to the board those things each month that seem to be worth paying attention to at that time. So we've also updated your calendar of events, so the board meetings for the next few months, along with spring break and election day, now that we have an item on the ballot. And I will also point out that we have three board candidates running for 3 positions, and if we had nothing else on the ballot, those names would not appear. There would not be an election for school board. But by state statute, because you've just authorized the special election for the bond, our three candidates will be on the ballot. So when people vote for in the school election, it will be for both of those issues. So that's all I have.
All right, very good. Any questions about the overall report? We'll get into the financial summary second here, but no. I just wanted to bring attention or point out how much I appreciate what all of the administrative staff, the time they put into putting this together for us every month. It does help us, and I noted through here how many of you noted that the professional development was really good this last session. So that was great to see. And then I did have a question about the free and reduced lunch number that increased by 2% since the last report. Was that due to our collection efforts or the new policies that we've implemented? What can we contribute that to, if anything?
Dr. Gooch, any insights on our bump in our free and reduced lunch percentage?
We did, pardon me, we just, I can't say it's attributed to the efforts we're doing, but we have had more dialogue with families about, the increased attention that we're giving to this, and we have had a slight increase in families apply for it and actually qualify for it. And so it might be attributed to the work we're doing, but this is just nothing more than a few more families applied later in the school year than, than typical. So our percentage increased.
All right. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to the financial summary.
This is a quarterly year-to-date on revenues and expenditures. So the first page is the revenues. This takes the previous set of graphs and just dives deeper. So you can go kind of line by line and see how we're comparing. As I've looked at this and spoke with Mr. Hooper and Dr. What's his name? Dr. Gooch, about these. Like there's really nothing there's nothing that we're alarmed about or nothing that I would highlight. There are little nuances for why one year would be higher or lower, and sometimes it's just a matter of timing. Any time there is a major expenditure or major revenue that happens over the summer, if we always get it in June and then one year it comes in July, boom, it's reflected in a new budget year. So those explain some of the things. There are the last 2 budget years, we've had significant amount of bond projects, and for the current budget year, we don't. And obviously, the next 2 budget years, again, we will. So that reflects some of what you see as well. But with that, I would do my best to answer any questions you have on what you see on those 2 pages.
Or we can direct them to that other guy.
The what's his face? Sorry, Dr. Gooch.
Any
It's
questions?
okay. We've only worked together for 15 years. But that's all right.
Any questions on the financial summary? No? All right. That will take us to the MSEP 6 Climate and Culture Summary Report.
Yes, we'd like to lean on Dr. Carrie Reich to kind of walk us through some highlights from the climate and culture surveys. This reporting looks a little different for you than what it did a year ago. Even though we still categorize it as MSIP 6, they've changed what they ask for, and we felt like we wanted to take the opportunity to share a little bit more specifics with the board. So, Dr. Reich?
Good evening. So I'll just start with the state does require us to participate in the survey every other year, but as a district, we feel like it's really important to get feedback from our students and our families and our staff each year. And so while it was just a year ago that we shared information with you, we're here again with some new information. We spent some time analyzing and reviewing this data just as soon as we got it. The window closes the end of October, and so we spend November really digging into it with lots of different groups of individuals. Our principals take a look at it. We had admin seminar people take a look at it. We, at the district level, have reviewed the information and really want to make decisions based upon the feedback that we're receiving. And so we did share just a few highlights with you regarding really strong data representation of positives that are going on from our community. And so there are quite a few, but there are many more listed beyond this. We just have very positive feedback coming from our community with both students, staff, and families. So first, a vast majority of our respondents really feel that they're informed and prepared for emergencies. So speaking to that safety focus that we've had for several years, sitting at 97% of parents, 97% of students, and 98% of staff. And so that's very strong feedback that says that what we're doing is working. We're moving in the right direction. Schools are perceived as safe environments. That's asked in a couple different ways. So 98% of our families feel that their child is physically safe at school, and 97% of our staff members report that they're safe at work. Taking a look at students feeling strongly supported by their educators, I can tell you that making an improvement on 100% isn't going to happen. So those scores, again, are definitely ones to celebrate. Members reporting highly collaborative environments, also something to be highlighted. And then, and this one, it's our kids are amazing. 99% of our students in grades 3 through 5 report that they are kind and help others, right?
Self-reported.
But that does not mean that everything is a highlight. We do have to dig a little bit to figure out where those areas are that are challenges or things that we can work on. And one thing that we did talk about and have talked about and buildings are working on is that there's a notable minority of students who continue to report experiences with bullying or teasing. So that question is asked together with bullying and teasing within the same question. So it may be teasing, maybe bullying, but we do still have 17% of students in grades 3 through 5, 14% in 6 through 8, who at least often are showing that. And so we're gonna continue to work on just making sure that we're strengthening our tier 1 and tier 2 related to how we are supporting those behaviors, making sure that we're working to support students with their ability to interact with each other. And you'll see you guys have received copies previously, but building school improvement plans, several of our buildings are continuing to work on just the culture within their building. We also have received some feedback from teachers with a desire of additional time to collaborate together. And while nothing is finalized completely as of yet, we are actively trying to problem solve how we can add some additional collaboration time during contract time. And I think that's just evidence that we aren't just asking questions, we're asking questions, looking at the results, and really trying to figure out what can we do to make Green Valley better. And so we aren't there yet. We can always grow. You know, if we've arrived, we've quit growing. So we want to continue to grow and get better, and we're willing to have those hard conversations.
All right. Any questions on the summary report?
I know you just addressed that you're already working on some of those things. Do you have
Yes.
some specifics to share on different thoughts or ideas or ways that you're looking at that?
Do I have specifics to share?
So we are, I would say part of, it's almost a two-part plan. Where this feedback comes from is mainly from our elementary teachers, and so that's where we're focusing a lot of our efforts. We've had one meeting with elementary admin and instructional coaches and basically proposed one idea that we as an academic services came up with, and basically they're taking it back to their leadership teams. They're kind of proposing it, seeing if they have other ideas that extend beyond ours and are bringing them back in 2 weeks. So we're in sort of a 2-week cycle of meeting with them to come up with a plan, but our goal is to, right now, our elementary teachers meet for Collab once a week on Thursday, so their plan time's taken away for Collab, and that's 100% dedicated to MTSS, which addresses just Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. So what we're trying to do is find a solution to do that at a different time so that 100% of their one plan time a week that they do for Collab is on all kids on Tier 1 instruction. And we think we have some pretty good plans, but you don't know till you get the feedback from everybody. So that's how new the process is and why Dr. Reich's like, do I have news to share? So I'd say
It's
a
still
month.
rough.
I'd say even the next time we meet or the time after that, we would have more information, but we are big on soliciting input and trying to make sure, we're happy to give a proposal, but we want to be flexible and respond to the wants and needs of the staff members. So we're working on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to bullying
Yes.
and that issue, is there any way to determine based on the results whether that's face-to-face bullying? Is that more social media bullying? I'm sure it varies depending on age. Any more detail there around what that looks like?
We do ask the question in a variety of ways, and we do talk about some online aspects of that, and so I can pull that specific data. The high school breaks it down by different ways that a student could be bullied, whereas in the elementary, just have you ever been teased or bullied?
As far as the questioning, the line of question, you said, you know, the teasing and bullying is asked together. Is it something that would get any more pointed answers if they were split apart?
So I'm glad that you asked that question, only because I had a lengthy conversation with a small group of people about this exact topic. Many times, the word bullying is used without true deep understanding of what that legal definition is, and so people use that and teasing interchangeably. And so approximately 3 years ago, we actually did have the question asked separately, and our results weren't much different. But the question about bullying was very lengthy because there was a definition included with it, but it wasn't a significantly different outcome. So we decided to put it together to see if maybe that helped.
So as far as like the responses you get about the question and how you get them, I mean, the school board doesn't receive a whole lot of information about actual bullying per the definition. So we should probably assume that the majority of this is more teasing than bullying.
I would agree with that, based upon the legal definition of bullying. Yes.
Okay. The other question I had was as far as the participation in the survey. Can you give us any data on that?
I don't know off the top of my head. I did include that in a previous report, so I can bring that back without
Okay.
a problem. Our numbers went down a little bit this year, but they were pretty much the same. We always have great feedback from students because they complete it during the school day. Our staff numbers are pretty constant. It's that response from our community that we continue to work on. We had a big uptick last cycle because we started to be very purposeful about sharing it during parent-teacher conferences, and so it was a significant increase. But then this year we maintained that same level. I didn't make that same increase 2 years in a row. So we're continuing to be creative to figure out how we can reach more of our families and get the information, because it is very important, and we do make lots of decisions based upon it.
I can see how it plateaus and drops off being a parent with multiple kids in schools and how many
Yes.
notifications that we get.
Yes,
It's good notifications, but it's hard to keep up with.
it is.
Any other questions?
Yeah, back to the bullying.
Yeah.
We asked this same question last year, correct? And how did the number trend?
It trends level.
Is that in here? Did I miss that?
It was not.
Okay.
No.
So it's staying flat. Okay.
It's a little bit different by level, but I can get you exact numbers.
I'm just curious how much of this is online.
Sure.
Just, I don't know why, but I am. And I had hoped that maybe the phone policy would curb some of that, and I'm wondering if that is proving out in the numbers.
I'm curious if the way, I mean, sometimes it doesn't matter exactly how you ask the question because, but I'm curious, Dr. Reich, if a student has been teased at school, and it wasn't necessarily this year, but they've been teased at school and it had an impact on them a year ago or 2 years ago, they have still been teased at school. And you could really make the questions complicated by saying, have you been teased since September in person at school versus, and it doesn't really matter because if you've been teased, it still hurts. And so I don't know if it's not really a question, but do you look at the data year over year, like do you wonder some of the same things?
I do. So not that many years ago, the expectation from the state level was to move the survey window from the spring after the students have lived a year to the fall where they've barely just been in school, because it's during that window of October. And so they've been in school since August. And so when the question is asked, students at this school are teased or picked on, like what does that mean? Does that mean since August? Does that mean ever? Does that mean since the previous year?
So I also want to clarify, because if what you just said is the question, it's not about me. It's about students at this school are picked on.
Correct.
Everybody knows somebody who's been teased. Would you agree with that?
I believe that everybody knows somebody, but the results say that not everybody knows somebody.
Okay.
Right? Like the results are
Yeah.
better than that.
Yeah. I think at the board level, clearly the interest is going to be that we are doing things that are having a positive impact on how students feel and their experience at school. And I know that we have a lot of things. We're in year 2 on a very important initiative, and so I think as we report back administratively the results of our character education progress, we kind of loop it back in and tie it to the bullying and teasing. And that way we can kind of help the board on that journey. As we're doing a new implementation, the ultimate is that we have students' perceptions that they're in a good culture. We see it improving. Your survey results overall showed a lot of positive culture, that the students feel safe at school, the teachers care about them, they're concerned about so the kids are not scared to come to school, but we do ask them a very specific question about teasing and bullying, and it'd be nice if we start to make a difference in that value over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think what we can do is, this is the time of year where we give this report, and there's other times of years we give other reports, but I think if we, to this extent that we can cross-pollinate different things, because we are working on lots of things all at the same time, so that would just be my suggestion.
Dr. Willie, do the pool of questions come from the state, or are those internal questions that we could reword to get us the maybe more specific answers as far as a time frame of when bullying?
What's the latest on that?
So we use a combination. A lot of the questions either started as a state suggested question, and we molded them to be more of what we felt fitting. So they are some that we can change. Part of the problem with changing a question is exactly what Mr. English spoke about, is that it's then difficult to look year to year because the question's asked in a different way. It doesn't mean that you can't, it's just, it's more difficult. So we try to change as few questions each year as possible, but that doesn't mean that, when we go to look at this in October, that we couldn't massage some of these questions to help make sure that we're getting kind of to the answers that we want.
Just to be able to pinpoint some sort of time frame
Yes.
to highlight the work your team is doing,
Yes.
so it doesn't, it's not flat, it's going up, going down, whichever the good way is.
Getting better.
Anyway, this question, yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely, no problem.
Dr. Reich, I have one question for you.
Yes.
On slide 5, it says a notable minority of students. If I remember correctly, what is that in specific to? Minority as in small or minority as in diversity? Because I remember this question previously, and it was to minority students, not a minority of students.
This question is specifically talking about the data, so a small number of students, because it's 14%, 17%, so a small section of that 100%.
Are there questions on the survey that address cultural or racial or religious differences?
There are. The high school percent in relationship to bullying, teasing specifically is broken down into 4 different questions, specifically about religion, ethnicity, sexuality, and I can't remember the 4th one off the top of my head. But there are 4 different, mental disability.
And then you and the administration, you review the trends in those areas so that if there are targeted interventions that a school is doing, they can track. It's one way to track effectiveness.
Correct, absolutely. And then also can guide their tier 1 of their character education if there needs to be specific lessons in relationship to just showing respect to each other.
And if you have something particularly noteworthy, then it would make this slide.
Correct. Yeah, their averages were pretty neck and neck with each other.
Okay.
And those questions come straight from the state survey data, or the state survey pool. Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Any other questions for now? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That will take us to new business. I would look for a motion to approve the addition of one special education paraprofessional FTE for the 2025-2026 school year.
Second.
All right, Dr. Welly, you want to give us some background on that one?
Yes, this is a more recent conclusion that we have come to. We have two special education teachers at Snybar Elementary School who share a classroom with their program. I think the classroom is a little bit larger than a normal classroom, if I remember. Maybe not. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. One of the teachers supports roughly 20 students. The other teacher supports roughly 15 students. And depending on their grade level and their program needs, so there's different groups of students coming and going throughout the day. So a lot of times when we request a para, it's for a very specific need. It's either it's either for a specific student who has been assigned additional para support, or it's a certain thread or group of students. In this case, it's a little bit different because with our restrictions on our facilities and the need for these two instructors to share a room, it's the 35 students coming and going throughout the day. It's just a lot to navigate, and they've decided that with the investment of a para for the remainder of the current school year, it would be the best solution possible for us to navigate the complexity of that room. I will say Snybar is a candidate for in a smaller edition. We're certainly not going to reimagine Snybar with a smaller edition off the bond issue, but if we can add maybe 4 classrooms at the end of Snybar and then revamp some existing classrooms, we want to be able to expand and improve our special ed facilities there. But in the meantime, this para is something we could all agree on as a reasonable solution, at least for this school year. Every school year, the caseloads change and things, so then later in the spring, we'd reevaluate the need for this position into next year.
Any questions on that item?
Was this, we just weren't expecting that number, and so it's well more than what they were anticipating being able to handle on their own.
There are a few more students than expected. We knew this was going to be, we knew having the two teachers having their two programs share a classroom, we knew there maybe were going to be some complexities, but really, and you know, everybody's best intentions and the skills and all the adults, still when the way the schedules fall into place sometimes dictates some of that. So you want to, when you have a group of students, say 3rd graders, and you want to be providing a certain level of intervention, you want to do it at a time where they're not missing out on the primary instruction in the classroom. And so the classroom, the kids that come from all the different rooms that are affected by these two teachers who support them, those schedules have to all mingle in a way, and some of it is the scheduling has kind of led to this. So you can't always anticipate the scheduling issues that you're going to face.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, any additional questions? All right, all in favor of approving the addition of one special education paraprofessional FTE for the 2025-2026 school year, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next item is going to be the priority positions for 2026-2027. I'd look for a motion to approve 2 1/2 teacher FTEs for the 2026-2027 school year.
So moved.
Second.
And what we're looking at is a high school science teacher and a high school industrial tech, as well as a half sped at South Middle School?
Yes. We currently have a part-time special education teaching position at South Middle School, so this would round it up to a full-time position. The high school science, high school industrial tech, these are probably, actually all three of these positions represent some of the most difficult positions to fill in education right now. And that's why we bring them as an action item in January, because we want to maximize our odds at being able to fill these positions for next school year by getting them posted right away. So it's not unusual for us to bring the board a short list of priority positions this time of year for the reason I just explained. What's different this year is just the budget outlook, which we're going to talk about the budget timeline in a little bit, but I'll give you a preview. The budget outlook for the next budget year is bleak from a growth standpoint. So the last 2 budget years, we have benefited from the passage of a local tax levy where we were able to intentionally help our salaries for our people. And then the current school year, the state fully funded the state adequacy target. So that gave us a bump in state aid. There is no discussion about growing revenues or allocations either at the local level or at the state level for our school district for next school year. So these are our 2.5 FTE priorities for January, but my commitment to you is these might be the only teaching positions that we ask for next school year. Now, the next tier down, there is coaching positions and special education paraprofessional positions. If I may come to you this spring and ask for 1 to 2 special ed paraprofessionals for next year, those are going to be on, like, we've ruled out all other options, and we just have to find a way to make those work, if that makes sense. And for coaching, the coaching stipends, these are just the stipends for the coaching. And yes, there's a budget implication. I wish that coaches were paid a lot more than they are, but we're going to stay focused on continuing to grow our extracurricular opportunities. But in terms of our full-time teaching equivalent positions, the 2.5, we're going to try to be disciplined and hopefully maintain that for our next budget year. And so you don't usually see a split box at the top. You usually just see a box at the top and then additional requests. These are other requests that we have processed since October, and they remain on the list. We want to continue to evaluate those for next year and the following year, but those are less likely to be funded for the next school year.
All right. Any questions on that item? All right. We have a motion to approve 2 1/2 teaching FTEs for the 2026-2027 school year. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, the next item would be I would look for a motion to approve the intent resolution for the district to reimburse itself with the proceeds of future general obligation bonds of the district for the purpose of funding the project not to exceed $1 million.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Dr. Welly?
It's not uncommon for the winter months before an April bond issue for us to basically borrow money from our future bond in order to continue with design and engineering work throughout the spring. As Nicole explained, we don't have quite the pressure to turn dirt in April or May, but there's going to be a lot of work that happens between now and when we do physically start turning dirt. And at some point, we're going to get invoiced for that, and we're going to want to be able to do as much as we can ahead of time. So I kind of challenged Dr. Gooch on this to, is $1 million still we still what we need, and it's just, at this point, it's hard to say. If we knew for sure that we only needed 250,000 or 300,000, then we would ask for less, but just because we are asking for $1 million doesn't mean we're going to approach $1 million. You're just authorizing it if it's needed. It's an administrative decision, and we'll track that, and we can certainly report that back. And then worst case scenario, the bond issue doesn't pass in April, then the work is still good. We're still paying for it, and presumably the needs don't go away. And so at some point in the next 12 months, we would reflect, find out why voters didn't pass our ballot measure, and come back with something revised. And we would still, when we passed it again, we would still pay ourselves back at that time.
All right. Any questions on that? All right. The motion is to approve the intent resolution for the district to reimburse itself with the proceeds of general obligation bonds of the district for the purpose of funding the project not to exceed $1 million. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item, the budget planning process for the 2026-2027 budget.
Yeah, just wanted to put this calendar back in front of everybody. This is kind of our process behind the scenes for developing the next year's budget. It really starts usually in October, and we get to the point where we are right now, where we're really outlining with the board, hey, this is what the next 6 months are going to look like. We are actively working towards a full revised budget proposal for the June workshop, so that when the board meets in that fourth Thursday in June, you can feel comfortable passing our budget at that time. We will, we're still evaluating priorities. I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag that the 2.5, we're going to be really disciplined about how few positions we add for next school year. In fact, there are places where if we have openings, any position that leaves, especially like at the elementary level where everybody has similar certifications, those are opportunities for us to really evaluate our class sizes within our acceptable ranges, and sometimes you take a position from one grade level and you fill it in a different grade level or a different assignment. So we'll continue to keep the board posted on that. By March is our first look at what do we really expect for revenues for the upcoming school year, and then we're revising the budget. I believe it was just last year that maybe as soon as April we had kind of our first draft of a budget. So we were able to, it just worked out. I think we brought 2 or 3 scenarios because we didn't know yet if the state was going to fully fund the SAT multiplier. And so we kind of brought that, man, if they pull through with this is what we're going to be able to do. And as it turns out, they did. And so that made June come a lot easier for us. So we also are reminded of our CSIP priorities, and then our challenges listed below. I won't bring you down by repeating those from my financial or my legislative report earlier.
All right. Any questions on the budget planning process? All right. Next item is the MSBA Advocacy Day, which is March 10th.
Yeah, if any board member is interested in doing that road trip for that day, do let Ms. Clappin know. And I don't know if some of you have probably done that. It's tricky because it is during the day. It's the whole day. You kind of have to get going at the crack of dawn, but you're down and back in a day. And for people who have gone, it's been a good experience. So just let us know if that works out for your calendar and if you have interest in that.
Dr. Willie, where is that at again?
It'll be in Jeff City. And they'll have a meeting place where they'll pull board members who are represented from across the state and kind of have a prep meeting. And then you'll be scheduled to see your local representatives and talk about whatever the priorities are. So if that's something you're interested in, we can talk more.
Yeah, do you have a target number in mind of how many you would like to be in attendance?
At least one.
At least one.
What do you think?
Along with you and your administration?
Yeah, I would go.
All
Yeah,
right,
road
let's do
trip.
it. See you 3:10.
Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda are policies. We have our next group of 10 local policies, the Local Review 2026A. This is the first read. If anybody has any questions or comments on these policies, we can dig into them now. Otherwise, we will bring them back at the workshop and review them deeper. Any questions or comments on them today? Okay. I would look for a motion to adjourn and go into executive session as authorized by the provisions of section 610.021, numbers 3 and 13 of the revised statutes of Missouri.
So moved?
Mr. English?
Yes.
Ms. Schwartz?
Yes.
Dr. Taylor? Mr. Williams? Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, everybody, we are going into executive session. Thank you for coming.